Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma231 here, back in day talking about Time to Not an Amagami Sister, chapter number 185. This chapter is titled 185th Knot, Tying Disguise Together. Answer. Because of course, this is the chapter where we finally get Uryu's answer. Of course, the entire thing, this entire series has been building up for ever since the very first chapter number 1. I guess, of course, most manga start with chapter number 1, so, that's a pretty obvious thing, but, I'm trying to, hype up the moment, build it up, because, hey, this is a big deal. This is not only the end of the 21st volume, if I could speak, which means we have 9 chapters left of this manga after this chapter, but also, this is just, that deciding point of where this is when Uryu's wish is finally going to be fulfilled. And again, I just want to thank you guys for sitting down and watching this video. Of course, this is day number 5 of the Amagami Sister video series here on the channel, being that mainly I got very behind on the series, and I want to catch up by the time these final 2 chapters that we are now on. We've had, out of those final 9 chapters, we have had 7 of them released, I guess 8, including the one we are talking about today, which means we have 2 more left to sit down and talk about whenever they get out, and I'm trying to be able to catch up to that point, so whenever those 2 final chapters come out, I'll be sitting down and talking about them at the moment that they air, which I think is going to be a pretty cool thing if we can manage it, right? But of course, as I mentioned, this chapter is, the subtitle is, Tying Disguise Together, but the big, the main title is Answer. Because, Uryu's answer, his wish is finally fulfilled, and honestly, before going into this whole idea of, what the reveal is of, hey, who does he choose? Honestly, it makes sense for what Uryu was trying to do and how he sort of learned about this series. Of course, the big plot twist of this is Uryu pretty much reliving his life through his sheer will to make all 3 girls happy. It's really about what I expected in the whole moment of what he's going to choose, but also it's a little bit of a thing of how is Marcy Naito going to make it work in the last 9 chapters. And I have to say, I have been semi-spoiled on how that works, even though, I'm not going to bring it up. I'm pretty sure it gets revealed next chapter 186 on, how he's doing all of this, I should say, but still, it's a little bit of a fun thing there. So yeah, really, I don't have anything else to say for. Just go ahead and sit down and talk about this good old chapter of manga. Again, like I said, chapter 185, Tying Disguise Together Answer. And of course, we're talking about this chapter. Let's talk about what happened last time in Tying Not for Amagami Sister. And really, it was just, honestly, probably one of my favorite chapters of this series that we've had in a long time. It was really just focusing on, hey, no matter what happens, no matter what answer Uryu gives, these 3 girls still have a bond that, even though they're not related by blood, one that will pretty much carry them through the rest of their lives, being that they are sisters. And it was just a really nice chapter focusing on this whole idea of, hey, no matter what happens, we'll still be together and we'll still all be happy no matter what Uryu ends up choosing, and they're all fretting over it. By the end of the day, they just all wish for each other's happiness, and it was just a really nice chapter, all things considered, right? And of course, as we knew, that was the night before Uryu was going to be going ahead and getting his test certification. So, hey, do we know if he passed the exam or not? Of course, we learned that answer in chapter number 176, but we sort of get a retelling of that first bit of the story here at the beginning of this chapter. Of course, we start off in mid-March, where the announcement of the university entrance results are pretty much going on, right? And here in the moment, as we see that both Uryu and Shirahi are heading to Kyoto University to see if, hey, did they get into med school or not, we see that Uryu's pretty much hey, Shirahi, I'm going to tell them how I feel today, right? And she's like, oh, wait a second, right? Of course, we've already seen this scene before unfold, and of course, Shirahi says, hey, Uryu, I actually love you too, and, all that very stuff, and Uryu's like, well, that's not really happening at this point, right? But as we see that scene's happening, we now cut over to the Amagami Shrine, where we see, of course, the 3 girls are oh my gosh, today has finally come, it's so exciting, right? And we see that they're all just, very happy in general. And we see that they're all pretty much putting on their kimonos, their wedding kimonos in the Shinto religion, right? And we see that Yuna's just hey, and no matter what his answer turns out to be, we will just have to accept it, right? And of course, we now look back over to Kyoto U, where we see that Shirahi's pretty much pushing Uryu away, being hey, all right, now it's your turn. And she's pushing him away after they've got their whole reactions. And of course, Shirahi just gave Uryu her feelings, so now Uryu must do it to the people that he actually has feeling towards, right? As we see, it is time once more to go back to the Amagami Shrine, as of course, the 3 girls are all there in their wedding kimonos, right? And we see the 3 of them are just standing there all looking very happy and nice with each other. And I love how they're all just standing there. We get like this panel progression of just like, oh yeah, they're standing there. And they're like, oh, wait a second. And all just completely blushing over like what they're doing, right? And I just love how they're all like, hey, this is kind of embarrassing, isn't it? Like, hey, if you think about it rationally, like, we are doing something like really weird, aren't we? Like, hey, should we like go ahead and change back into regular clothes, right? And I love how Yuna's just like, oh yeah, and like which one of us was said like, hey, let's surprise him by wearing all of our wedding kimono gear, and he's like, it was you, Asahi, right? And Asahi's like, hey, but like what about you, Yuna? As I recall, you said it was a good idea to show him that we're taking this seriously, like you were right there with me, right? And of course, Yahe just is like, hey, you two, like, stop fighting. You guys are going to get all the kimono dirty, and I don't want to have to wash these, right? But either way, she just, like, says, like, hey, Uryu will probably be here any minute at this point, so we can't necessarily back out of what we are doing now. And all of them are like, yeah, you're probably right about that. Like, let's just sit here and push through all of this embarrassment that they're putting each other through, right? And as all this happens, we see that Uryu is actually already back at the shrine, and that he's hiding behind one of the posts up front, and he's like, wait a second, like, what the hell are they doing back there wearing all of these wedding kimono, right? And he's like sort of like fretting a little bit over all of it, and he's like they didn't have to make such like a spectacle out of it, like, but I guess it is an important day for all of them, but like, crap, like just thinking about this more is just making me nervous, right? And he's like, okay, whatever. Get it together, Uryu Kamahate. He's like, all right, now, let's go ahead and do this. And as he starts to sort of like step out from behind the wooden pillar, all of a sudden, we see that he like starts to move, and of course his phone starts ringing. And Uryu's like, God damn it, like, come on, at a time like this, like, I don't have time for all of this, right? But he answers his call, and we see that he's getting a video call from none other than Mahiru, of course. And we see that Uryu's like, oh, like, hey, Mahiru, like, what's up? Like, you never video call me, right? And we see that Miharu's just like, hey, I just wanted to simply see you, and like, hey, I can see it in your face, so I'll know if you're lying whenever you tell me or not, right? And Uryu's like, what do you mean? Like, what would I be lying to you about? As Mahiru just is like, hey, but from seeing you just now, I can tell that I have nothing to worry about at all. And Uryu's like, of course you didn't. I mean, the entrance exam is just one step towards many on my path towards becoming a doctor. Like, I wasn't going to fail that in the slightest, right? And he sort of like gets all pompous and like acting, getting a big head as Uryu normally does here at the moment. And he's like, hey, I did what I needed to do, right? Like, I wasn't nervous about it in the slightest. Like, it wasn't like the big test and like really determined if my whole life has meaning to this point or not. But of course, as he's doing all of this, we see that Miharu just says like, oh no, like I wasn't talking about that. And Uryu's like, what were you talking about, right? As Miharu just says like, hey, I was just worried about your confession that you were having today, right? And Uryu's like, how did you even know about that, right? As Miharu just says like, hey, it was just a little birdie who got into Kyoto University School of Medicine today told me, right? And of course Uryu's like, oh sure, he like, you little shit, like I can't believe you're doing this to me, right? But Miharu just says like, hey, you've changed, Uryu. You used to be super clumsy in social situations, and you were really curt with everyone. But now you're cool and confident. And Uryu's like, oh, like, hey, thanks for saying so, right? He's like, hey, whatever, all right, I'm about to go ahead and do it. And Miharu's like, all right, I'm praying for one happy outcome. As of course, she ends the video call pretty much like giving Uryu like a nice little like waves, like, I know you got this. As of course, I think all of the girls heard this conversation from behind here as Uryu is like talking to Miharu and all of that. But eventually Uryu just walks up to all of them, just is like, hey guys, thanks for waiting. And of course they all address him like, hey Uryu, Uryu-kun, Uryu, Uryu-san. Of course, like the various ways of like, hey, is he younger than you, older than you, the same age? Like, we all know how honorifics work in Japanese, right? Or at least I do. If you don't, look them up. I don't feel like explaining them right now, right? But either way, it's just a little bit of an idea. We're like, hey, welcome home. Like, how are your results, right? And Ryu's like, oh, like, I mean, I passed with flying colors, of course, right? They're like, oh, like, yeah, that's good. Like, congratulations. Like, yeah, we're really excited to hear that, right? But it's a little bit of an awkward silence between them here in the moment. But then Uryu just is like, hey, will you three listen to my answer? As we just see they're all standing there, we just see they all got like these very concerned expressions on their faces. And here in the panels, we just get like that ba-dump, 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 ba-dump. Of course, the heartbeats here in the moment. And as we see that Uryu is getting ready to say like, hey, we see that the three girls walk up to where Uryu is and all place their hands in his. And Uryu's like, oh, like, what is this? As all of them have a really peaceful and nice smile on their face. And we just see that each want to get a little bit of word in before Uryu sits down and gives his answer. As we see that Yahei is just like, hey, even though I've been engaged to a ton of people in my life, I won't ever marry anybody but you. You are my destined partner, Uryu. And Uryu's like, oh, hey, Yahei, right? Asahi then pipes in being like, hey, same goes for me, Uryu. In all of the world, there's only one person I'd ever swear eternal love to. And Uryu's like, oh, thanks, Asahi. And Yuna just is like, hey, my answer has been clear from the start. If I want to remain a shrine maiden, then there's no need for me to marry. But you're special enough that I can make an exception. He's like, oh, Yuna, right? And they're just like, hey, we're sorry for interrupting you, but we all had to get that out first. And it's, hey, it's true no matter which one of us you choose and which ones you don't. All three of us will love you, and we always will. And they're like, oh man, that felt good to get off my chest. Like, yay, we said what we wanted to say. Like, hey, now it's your turn, Uryu. And eventually Uryu's just like, ah, geez, like you three, you're always doing whatever you want. As we see that now here in the moment, Uryu kneels down on one knee and just says like, hey, when I was first told I'd inherit the shrine and I'd be forced to marry somebody to do it, all I wanted to do was get out as fast as I could. But after spending time at this shrine and spending time with each of you, I came to realize how much all of you really mean to me. So it's impossible for me to deny those feelings by choosing one of you to marry. And no matter how much time I took, no matter how much I thought it over, I just couldn't get these feelings of mine to change. I love all three of you, so I want to marry all three of you, and I'll make all three of you happy. As we get a 2-page spread where Uryu is saying all of this out to the world, and I honestly find it really funny the way this panel is framed is we really just like get a good look at Uryu himself, but not a good look at any of the sisters being that like they're all like in like a tri-folded pamphlet like facing Uryu pretty much, right? And of course text boxes are covering up all of them. But our final page of the chapter is just 3 singular panels focusing, of course, each of their faces as we just see the mixed reactions that all of them have, right? As Uryu just says like, hey, that is my answer, and that is my wish. As Yahei really has this like almost like a stone deer expression, like, oh, that's weird, right? We see Yuna just has like a very, very nice smile, and Asahi has like her mouth agape, like, oh, what did you just say to us? And yeah, that's where we end this chapter number, 185 of Tying the Knot with an Amagami Sister. And hey, it seems like the title should be changed to Tying the Knot with the Amagami Sisters and not just a singular sister, right? But yeah, this is pretty much where a lot of us were expecting it to go, like Uryu being like, there's only ever been one choice in my mind, what can I do, right? And of course, this is like where I logically saw it going, so it makes sense that, yes, this is where we ended up getting at the very end of the day, right? Really, there's not too much to really say about this chapter's like final thoughts wise. It's not like I need to break down any action sequences here or like, oh, hey, a little bit of a weird conversation they had there. Like, it's just a nice chapter, like Uryu talking with Mahiru, like just something that's very nice to see here. And of course, the retelling of the story that we already saw majorly told in chapter number 176, right? Eventually getting to this whole idea of the answer. And I do really like how this chapter is treated as like, yes, this is a rom-com series, and in the process of doing that, we have some comedic, lighthearted moments to it. Of course, to the whole final idea of like, hey, Uryu says the word 3 like 8 times in a row, saying like, you three, I'm gonna do this to you 3. And of course, it's just a nice thing in general. It's what a lot of us were really thinking, because like, in most like harem series, you get this whole idea where like, oh, hey, there's like 5 girls, there's however many they are, and slowly by the end of the series, you keep knocking them off until it's like, hey, whoever the first 2 were, those are really the only 2 options that are really there in case like, instead of you do like a We Never Learn, which was a series that ran on Weekly Shonen Jump, where it's like, oh, hey, we're going to do separate routes for all of these characters. And from what I know from spoilers wise, we're doing something like that, but not quite in the way it's like, oh yes, there are actually 6 different canon endings where our main character in that series, Yuega, ends up with each of the girls, and then the one where it's, hey, all of them together, right? And that's really all I've got to say about this chapter here, right? It was a good one. I'll be excited to read the next one and see where we are, but if I'm not mistaken, I'm recording a few of these videos in advance. I think that there's going to be one more video on this series tomorrow, and then we're going to take like a few day break from the Amagami Sister stuff before we get back to it. So be back to check tomorrow for day 6 of the Amagami video series, where we're going to tackle chapter 186. And hey, if you want to be here for the channel for that, well, I've got a YouTube channel you can check out. Of course, it's called @Glowplasma on YouTube, or just Glowplasma. If you're watching the YouTube video, just go down to the channel icon and click on it and see all the various anime and manga related content I do there. While you're there, you can check out the post for all the other Amagami Sister videos in it. I've been covering this series since chapter number 176, so you guys can go check all that various stuff out there. And of course, that post will also be linked in the description box of this video, along with the in card of this video as well. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I will catch you guys next time for Tying Off an Amagami Sister, chapter number 186. Again, this was chapter number 185, Tying the Skies Together, Answer. And yeah, good chapter, and I'll catch you guys next time for the next chapter. I think I said that already, but I don't know what I'm saying at this point. I'll catch you guys next time. This will be Glowplasma, signing out.